Hi, everyone. Welcome into the Rochester Press Box, the first day of the rest of our lives. It feels like, it's the first week of the dark half of the calendar.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That is also the tag for Days of Our Lives, which I think is,
that is not where I got it.
Well, I mean,
that.
These are the days
How
of
you
our
doing,
lives.
Tariq?
Doing great. I mean, listen, Giants got totally whooped this past weekend, but I feel good about the direction we're going in. Buffalo.
I know. There's some stuff that we'll get to in the other side.
I'm in the hockey mode, if you ask.
Wow.
It's celebrating with...
It's nice you have something to fall back on.
It is nice. The Sabres are playing great, and we're celebrating with the Wayne Simmons Sabres jersey, who played a grand total of 7 games for the Sabres. So, come on.
So let's deal with the NFL's Final Four. We'll put the team that's not in it on the back burner for the time being. How do you see these 4 remaining teams?
Well, I mean, listen, if there's any doubt about Philadelphia, there isn't anymore, especially now going against San Francisco for the championship game. The other interesting thing about this, too, was the 49ers played very, very hard against a Dallas team that wanted to give that game away. So I find is that their bad game? Are they over it now? Will they play Philadelphia a little bit harder? That's going to be interesting. I think there were a lot of questions about whether or not you're going to have a starting quarterback for Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes, healthy to play in this game, because from what I saw from the Bengals, that front four is going to be running after him hard with that ankle. So there was a lot of questions going in there, but Philadelphia cleared up a lot of concerns with the way they ended the season and what they did to the Giants last week.
Philly and KC are moving on, and I'll tell you why. KC is a better team this year with the moves that they made than they were the year before. Patrick Mahomes has dealt with...
You let Tariq Hill go and be better.
And
I'm not arguing that it isn't true, but it's like amazing that it happened.
It is strange. I mean, look, we've seen Patrick Mahomes in a conference championship game with an injured wing leg before, right? And he was absolutely fine. I think what happened with Cincinnati and Buffalo last week is going to hurt Cincinnati this week. Not only did they put a lot on tape to have to do what they did to Buffalo, but they haven't beaten Cincinnati. Patrick Mahomes has never beaten Cincinnati. Look, you're a guy who has put down a bet or two. If you're going to run numbers here, right, what are the odds that Joe Burrow beats Patrick Mahomes for a 4th straight time? I'm going to say 0%.
And again, on the road. So, I mean, we put those numbers together, it's very scary. But when you peel back a bit of the layers, high ankle sprains are not that good. I mean, they take some time to get over. If he wins this game, he will have those 2 weeks to rest it and then be ready for the Super Bowl. But this is going to be a lot of pressure. They're going to be chasing Mahomes the entire game. And they're not better until they get to the Super Bowl without Tariq Hill.
I'm so on the same page with you. The whole idea that... And we were talking 2 weeks ago about the tough road that the second or third seed was going to have to go through both, for Cincinnati's case, Buffalo and Kansas City. And like you, I think they spent so much beating Buffalo, far more than Kansas City did beating Jacksonville, that despite the high ankle sprain, I think it puts Kansas City in the Super Bowl.
But, you go back to the game, and I don't want to get into the Bills and the Bengals too much, but you go back to that game where DeMar Hamlin was injured. They were moving the ball very well early on. I didn't
think they were going to win that. The Bills were going to win that game.
I didn't think so either. So I thought to myself, the fact that, unfortunately, the incident took place with DeMar Hamlin, so I'm not trying to escape that one. But I think if they had played that game and lost that game, they would have played maybe a little bit better last week against Buffalo. That being said, Joe Burrow, I do not want to bet against this kid. For some strange reason, he has a stone face on the road again. We'll wait and see what happens. If he takes that team back to the Super Bowl, he's right there up there with Mahomes.
You've got Philadelphia said, and we went through just before the names of the guys, the rookie quarterbacks. There had been 4 of them who got to conference finals in the Super Bowl era, and all 4, an interesting list.
Yeah.
All 4 of them lost, and Purdy is the least accomplished now as being the 5th.
So the 4 that you brought up, what was it? Joe Flacco, Sean King, Ben Roethlisberger, Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
All 4 of them were first-round picks. This guy is literally Brock Purdy, the opposite of that. He was a pick away from not being a pick at all. Maybe that makes for a better situation in all sincerity. Look, that 49ers team, although I believe Philly pulls this game out, I wouldn't be shocked if they did it. It's a turnkey.
Oh, they're so good.
They're turnkey. Who I could go play quarterback for that offense. And try me. Look, I'm available this weekend. Call me if you need me.
Well, then you got to be taking San Francisco.
I think Philly is a dominant team on both sides of the ball. I think that Philly has an explosion that the 49ers don't, and even if they keep it close, there's going to be a play or two that Philly makes it San Francisco doesn't.
I think it's going to be interesting. Purdy's, is he riding this magic dust all the way to the Super Bowl? Wait and see what happens. That'll be a great story. But Jalen Hurts, give some credit here.
That's not a drug reference.
Well, no. Well, I will say this.
Let's clear that up.
Well, yeah, I will say this. I think with Jalen Hurts, there's newfound respect for this kid from what happened in Alabama to where he got drafted, for the Philadelphia Eagles to believe in him. The way he had that regular season, he's candidate for MVP. He has totally changed everything around, and that week off saved their season.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I'm sensing you've got who against Cincinnati?
I will say, just to be fun and just to annoy him, I'll just go the other way. I'll just say
Just
the
to
Eagles.
annoy him.
Yeah, just
Well,
the
you're not
Eagles in
especially
Cincinnati.
annoyed.
Well, no, I'm
Oh, he will be in the Bill
collected.
segment. He will be.
Well, you don't know what you're talking about, so how can you annoy me?
I already know, because whatever you're going to say, trust me.
And we
Doesn't
both
make
have
sense.
Eagles Chiefs.
Yes, I think so.
All right, very good. This is the Rochester Press Box talking Buffalo Bills. Next.
Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. If you like to travel like I do, you'll love my travel books. Buy one, get one free right now. Email me, let me know what you need. MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com. I'll even sign it. MikeTheGetawayGuy@gmail.com.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Buffalo Bills segment is brought to you by Ralph Honda. For 3 generations and celebrating 50 years as New York's first and oldest Honda dealer, visit Ralph Honda today and find out how to do Honda right at ralphhonda.com.
What is that? Nobody died. Look, I'm not having
Losing for the Bills, dude. I tell you that right now.
Honestly, but I'm not nearly as invested as you, and I felt a real sense of loss when that game was over.
Look, I mean, it wasn't shocking. Look, the way they lost was shocking. I'll say this, and I've been saying it for the past month, ever since the DeMar Hamlin situation. There was going to get to a point, whether it was in the playoffs or when it was over, when these guys were just going to run out of emotional currency, where there was no gas left. And I was saying that before the guys were talking a locker cleanout. Roger Saffold, Micah Hyde revealed that they felt like that locker room just had nothing left between DeMar Hamlin, between the fact that they had to play 3 road games in 12 days after the snowstorm and won all 3 of them. I mean, look, this team won 8 straight games going into that Bengals game. This team was top 3 in both offense and defense all season long. You have amazing talent. Not to say there isn't holes on that roster after what happened. You also forget about all the injuries this team faced from legitimate stars all season long. I understand why what happened, and I, for one, am not nearly as concerned as it seems that everyone else who is a Bills fan is about where this team goes.
It's the emotional investment, and I understand that there's a lot going in, and I'm glad that Brandon Beane came out and defended Stephon Diggs, which you know exactly he was right. He said what was in the room. He said what people were feeling as far as the quarterback, Josh Allen's performance in that game. That being said, though, there is time to start to reevaluate what's going on with this team. Are you going to run this back next year, hoping that you're not going to face adversity? You are absolutely right. They faced a lot with White, with Miller being gone, with all the different things that went on throughout the season and schedule changes. That being said, you yourself said, I wanted to see this team in the Super Bowl.
Sure.
And you could have seen this team in the Super Bowl. I believed they should have went to the Super Bowl. They did not. So now you have a question of what happened to this offense? Are we as good as we think we are? Do we need to reestablish this again, or do we need to change a few things for the Buffalo Bills organization for the new year?
Overwhelmingly, I feel like I don't want to be Mr. Doom, but I think in strict analytical terms, looking at that roster, the Buffalo Bills will never, ever be in a better position to win than they were this year because of the salary cap.
Yeah.
You're going to pay Allen, you're going to play Diggs, you're going to pay Miller more. You're going to have to lose guys off the periphery.
Sure.
Allen's offense rookie contract, he's a twice in a lifetime, him and Kelly quarterback for this franchise. And now that you have to pay him more, you will never be in a better position going into a season than you were this year.
You're right, but Bill, again, from a gambling standpoint, which roster that is favored to win a Super Bowl runs it wire to wire? I mean, that was my biggest nerve-wracking thing this season long, and the way that the Bills perform made me feel easy throughout the way. I'm not concerned about how this roster goes. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. You ready? 8. You know what that is? That's the combined points of losses before the Cincinnati game this season. They had 3 losses by a combined 8 points. Number 3, you know what that is? The number of division winners they beat throughout the season. They won 13 games. They lost 4 games. You went to Kansas City, you beat the Chiefs in their own house. You had Tennessee, who's been haunting you for years. Got them. You won that Baltimore game when they were leading the division. You won games all season long. You went to overtime on a freak call where Josh Allen fumbles a touchdown in the end zone against Minnesota. This is a good team that understandably lost it after everything they've gone
So
through.
you're not changing your offense. You're not changing your defense. You're not changing your coaches. You're not changing anything. You're going to run it back next year.
Their hands
with
are
the same-
largely tied.
Well, this is what we ran into. What the biggest problem was in the last game was you play in Western New York, and I'm going to say this for the bazillionth time.
Okay.
You have to run the football some other way.
You couldn't run the football because you were down 14-0.
I know we could, but if you could, no, first of all, you were down 14-0, came back 14-7, and then didn't score after that again, except the
3.
field goal. But that being said, what are you going to change? You're just going to run the same guys out there with a different roster, like Bill said, and expect a different result? Like Cincinnati's not going to get better? That Kansas City's not going to change anything? Like, what do you? I please don't do this.
Where is your guy? You want a running back. Where is your Joe Mixon going to come from?
You can make a trade. You can make a trade for one. You
Wait a
can make a
minute.
trade for
Can
Saquon
we stop
Barkley.
here?
Tell me. Do you want Saquon Barkley right now?
No, I don't want Saquon Barkley.
So you don't want a
right
running
now.
back?
No, I
No.
like James Cook. I like James Cook. And we can talk
Do
about
you?
Joe Mixon.
Because you didn't use him in the last game.
You ask me where's your Joe Mixon come from? The Bengals have one of the worst rushing offenses in the league.
And they rushed it all over your defense.
Because you had nothing left. It flies in the face of your logic all season long. Gotta run the ball. Gotta run the ball.
What was
Well, they
the
just went to
biggest concern?
Buffalo and went to the AFC Championship.
What was the biggest concern? The offensive line. That offensive line looked pretty good against Cincinnati, against Buffalo Bill's defense. How is that possible?
Look, 13-4. You cannot
That's fine.
argue with me. Am I wrong? It wasn't a
It's
top
great.
3 offense.
You know, it's
wasn't a top 3
fantastic in
defense.
September, but in January, you know you can't run that offense
January.
outdoors.
You mean like a game they played where they won 8 straight from November to January? You're out of your mind. Don't
But
use
it's not a
recency
team
bias.
that's built. If they get cold weather, it's part of the deal. They're not a team that's built for cold weather.
What?
That team, that offense, wide open, and what they do would be
How is
far
this
better
surprising to
suited for
you?
California.
Oh, every NFL team that is in the playoffs right now is far better suited for California. It's why they wanted to put the AFC Championship neutral game in a dome so you could watch the Chiefs and the Bills run like crazy.
Go ahead, just run Allen back out there next year. Have him do all the
Yes.
running, throw the football, have him do everything. God forbid nothing happens to him, and they don't have a second option offensively
I'm
to run the ball.
not sure how to end this. I know that we have to at some
I
point.
can't believe he wants to run the same team back. Last year.
when
He's
you-
got
when you-
13 worse results.
13-3.
When
Right.
you go into next year, again, we love Vegas. The first Vegas odds have the Chiefs and the Bills go.
Wait, but that's weird because I heard the roster's terrible. Set it on fire. Send it home. You're missing several pieces.
Okay, great. You'd be great if you had won last week, and you'd be playing this week, and you have an argument, but you don't.
Okay, I do have an argument.
One line or one word about how you're viewing now to the next season with this team.
One-liner, reevaluate offense.
Tariq's wrong.
That's your.
Yeah, because that's pretty much synopsizes
Guess what?
everything.
Guess who's going to be in the AFC Championship game next year? Guess who's going to the Super Bowl? The Buffalo Bills. Duffy just said it.
Yes.
Okay, good, great.
I think we'd all like to see
I'm
that.
fine with that
I would like to
statement.
see it. I thought I'd see it this year, but I didn't.
Our Buffalo Bills segment was brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like it or not is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road.
Hey, hello again, Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. I have been traveling everywhere, and you can see my latest getaways right now. Just search for The Getaway Guy on Facebook. That's The Getaway Guy on Facebook.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box. Our Like It or Not segment is brought to you by Sport Clips, where the MVP experience is better than ever. Sport Clips, the pros in men's hair. No appointment is needed. Stop by the Rochester location today. Baseball Hall of Fame, Scott Rolen, one of your favorite guys.
I love the fact that the video shows and he comes in and he greets the family with the news that he's going into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations to him on that hard work. I get it. He got voted in. I do say this, though. We have to make a decision on this steroid era. and it has nothing really to do with Scott Rolen. You know you've got about 6 or 7 other guys out there that should probably be in the Hall of Fame or not in the Hall of Fame, not putting them in. Either they're going to get in or they're never going to get in. Why don't you just tell them that right now so we're not waiting every year to find out who gets in?
I love this because the biggest, most entertaining nerd argument every year is the Baseball Hall of Fame argument. Look, man, give it 10, 15 years when everything cools down. All those guys are going to get into the Hall of Fame eventually. Just don't Buck O'Neill them and wait till they're dead and gone afterwards.
Yeah, and they punished Carlos Beltran, too. So the Astros thing, it's first raised its ugly head into the Hall of Fame.
Who would you fear more at the plate, Scott Rolen or Gary Sheffield?
Are we talking steroid Gary Sheffield or non-steroid Gary Sheffield?
Here we go again.
Oh, that's
Or
a
Carlos
question.
Beltran, that I take over both of them.
Fine, wait the 10 years and put them in before they die.
I Like It or Not segment was brought to you by Sport Clips. Unfinished Business is next.
How do you know they're going to live for 10 years?
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us here in the Press Box. Unfinished Business is brought to you by Genesee Brewhouse, your beer destination since 2012. Visit the gift shop, enjoy a tasting at our pilot brewery, and dine at the pub-style restaurant at the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business, Pat.
Deep breaths, Bills fans. You don't want to be like Tariq, get emotional and start yelling wrong things over and over again. Because the fact of the matter is this. Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's shown it time and time again. He had no time when he was playing on Sunday against Cincinnati, and that deeply affected him. Let's not mention the fact that he did now finally address what happened to his elbow, that he was supposed to miss 2 to 4 weeks this season. He didn't miss a game. He was getting PRP. It's where they take your blood, spin it around, and shoot it back into your body to try and make things work every week, and said that his elbow wasn't back to normal until about 2 weeks ago, which we started noticing in the deep game. This roster is going to be okay. Yes, it's going to be harder, but the fact of the matter is, whether or not you had the money, Jordan Poyer probably wasn't coming back next year anyway. He's aging. He's going to hit a wall. And I hate to say it, but the guy can't stay on the field. Brandon Beane, for all the misses people like to point out, is amazing when it comes to finding guys you need to play late in the draft. In fact, Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano are perfect examples of what's going on there. He's got a blind spot in the offensive line and a blind spot on the defensive line. But all those other pieces you need to pick up, you're going to be okay. It's there. It's ready to go. It's a setback. It's not an end. Bills Mafia, everything is going to be just fine.
Oh, yeah, Duffy's not worried, but I am because the Buffalo Bills are just going to run it back the way they did last year. Oh, by the way, you mentioned Josh Allen, that MVP player, and I do believe he's an MVP candidate, but he's also doing way too much for the Buffalo Bills when it comes to lifting. Pat Mahomes does a lot too, but you know what? He gets help offensively and quality players that stay healthy and on the field and dedicated too. Listen, I'm not trying to say, I'm trying to compare Allen to Mahomes, but when you're going for an MVP race, you got to compare Allen to Mahomes. And Allen does way too much. Do this young man a favor, get him some help, some plays where he's not going and injuring his elbow, possibly costing the Bills their season because they damn sure don't have a backup. Just give the man some time to breathe, move some offensive around, move some players around, but please don't run it back with the same roster because I was disappointed the Giants lost, but I was crushed. The Bills did too.
Fatigue makes cowards of us all. It's often attributed to Coach Vince Lombardi. It actually belongs to General George Patton, and it's a great quote. I don't possess the passion for the Buffalo Bills of Pat Duffy, for instance, but I saw every snap of every game this year, and when it ended last Sunday, I was certainly disappointed, but mostly exhausted. So imagine how the team felt. The Bills began the season as the favorite to win the Super Bowl and remained so until only about a month ago. They beat 2 presumed contenders to start the season by a combined 55 points. There was immediate talk of going undefeated, but they lost All-Pro safety Micah Hyde, then free agent prize Von Miller went down. 77 inches of snow fell at Orchard Park and relocated a home game to Detroit. A month later, a blizzard killed 39 in Erie County. Damar Hamlin nearly died on the field at Cincinnati, and the game was canceled. The NFL came up with a neutral field plan for the presumed Buffalo versus Kansas City AFC Championship game, and then announced they'd sold it out while giving the Bengals the back of their hand. You think Cincinnati didn't gain any extra motivation from that little charade? If you believe that the point spread is a measure of expectation, as I do, consider the Bills went 4-8 against the spread in their final 12 games this year. They were wearing out. Sure, there were football reasons the Buffalo was unceremoniously swept out of the playoffs, and I won't try to analyze strategy here. But the Bills collapsed under the weight of expectation along with a unique and amazing array of challenges. There's a reason they're called Cinderella stories. It's because in real life, they don't often happen. That is our Unfinished Business, brought to you by the Genesee Brewhouse. Gentlemen.
Hey, it's nice to know there's at least one rational person who understands football on this dais with me.
I don't know. Do they understand the definition of insanity?
What's that, continuing to make the playoffs over and over again?
And losing.
Your team went to one playoff game, won a single playoff game, and you're going to lecture me about
You
what
want Brian Dable back? You can't have him.
No, I don't.
Man, you're gonna miss this. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week with the Rochester Press Box.
We're better than I thought.